Welcome to the Report for Tiger Mountain, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about Christopher Nolan's new film, The Odyssey. Stick around and listen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about diversity, in fact, and The Odyssey in the new film by Christopher Nolan that's causing a lot of waves. Elon Musk has criticised some of the casting of the film by Christopher Nolan, who is actually normally quite a good director in many ways, even though he does sort of fall into the woke thing every now and then. Doesn't do it too much, but he has fallen, I think, head first at this time. He has cast an African woman whose name eludes me. Her name's like Nugati, whatever, one of those African names that you can never remember, as the Helen of Troy, ladies and gentlemen, Helen of Troy. I don't know if you're familiar with Helen of Troy in mythology. She's essentially one of the great blonde, blue-eyed women of ancient history. And so to cast this woman as her is kind of a definite insult. And also is really against the whole historical context. I mean, people say that the story of the Odyssey is a myth. Well, actually, the ancient battle between the Greeks and the Trojans actually happened. I mean, they've actually there are many places along the coast of Turkey that are the places where the Battle of Troy was meant to have actually taken place. So this is actually a real historical event. So when you're saying, okay, well, no, it's a myth. You can just cast whoever you like. That's just bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. This was oral history. Of course, there were two great oral works, that were written down hundreds of years after they were first spoken by Homer, the lyrical poet. Homer, probably 3,000 years ago. It was the Iliad and the Odyssey. They are his two most famous works. I think there is only two works that have come down to us. And obviously, the Odyssey is a storyline of a hero finding his way home. Obviously, there was 2001: A Space Odyssey. That has a kind of Homeric kind of, story to it, a motif. And there's 1,000 movies with this story of the hero's journey back home. So, I think when I first heard that Christopher Nolan was going to do the Odyssey, I thought, well, that's good news. He's quite a good filmmaker. I thought Oppenheimer was fairly impressive, obviously about the Jewish people who invented the atom bomb. And, he did a film, The Dark Knight Rises, a few years back that I thought was pretty good and could be interpreted from a right-wing perspective. Batman was sort of fighting this guy Bane, and Bane was working with these kind of globalist, Wall Street people, and then Bane turns the table on them and holds a full kind of right-wing kind of nationalist revolution, and has these kind of courts. It's meant to be all taking place in New York City, so that's a great film. He did do a film called Tenet a few years back, probably about 10 years ago now, and he did cast a black actor in the lead in that film, because every other lead in his film had always been white. I think, this is when wokeness began, and he felt he was under criticism to do this. And that film, in my opinion, didn't work. I mean, there are good black actors out there, but he just didn't choose one of them. If it was Samuel L. Jackson, I probably would have loved it. You know what I mean? But he might have been a bit old for that part, but and for whatever reason, I thought that was a kind of woke casting, particularly also Robert Pattinson, who is a great leading man. He was like the second fiddle. I mean, it was clear to me that Robert Pattinson should have had the lead role, and this black actor, who's again named, I can't even fucking remember, nor do I want to remember. I can't remember his name, but whoever it is, you can look it up online. He, I thought did a poor job, but he would have been okay in a supporting role. But anyway, that was, I think, the first example of, I guess, the current wokeness, encroaching upon the work of Christopher Nolan. So, there's this thing that was, there was a Jewish lawyer, I think his name was Rubin, who was connected to the Academy Awards, and he decided to make it so that, there are kind of almost Stalinist art guides now, that if you're nominated for a picture, you've got to, have a black producer, you've got to have a black lead, you've got to have, somebody from the LGBT community. It's like, forcing, wokeness onto pictures which wish to contend for the Academy Awards. Obviously, Nolan's films, due to their quality, are often nominated for Academy Awards. So, I mean, Nolan could just be being cynical. He just could be thinking, look, I've got to put a few of these people in. So, the other person he's cast is Alan Page as Achilles. Achilles is the great hero of ancient Greece. It's mythological. In last time it was filmed in a major ways by Ridley Scott. Brad Pitt played him. You know what I mean? So now it's a transgender. So basically, it's a woman playing the greatest male hero. And then you've got Zendaya. She's playing somebody. They've got a diverse cast. I just think that's a mistake. I mean, obviously he's cast the lead, Odysseus. He's cast that well, Matt Damon, and he's got Robin Pattinson again as I think one of the villains. And obviously most of the cast is white, but But I don't know. I mean, another thing too. I mean, Helen of Troy will hardly be in this film because the Odyssey is set after the Trojan War, so if she's in it, she's going to be it'll be like a flashback. You know what I mean? Remembering the what happened during the Trojan War. But anyway, look, he's gone woke. He's getting a lot of stick for it, and it seems to be resonating. People are talking about boycotting the film. And I think if you're in the right-wing community and you want to boycott this film, go right ahead. I am something of a fan of his work, and I do admire the way he shoots it on film. He shot it on IMAX, so I'm probably going to go see it and check it out. But, he's also got some rapper playing some kind of almost like a kind of Homer stand-in, you know what I mean? Because Homer obviously told these stories orally to begin with, and then they were written down around the time of Plato, around that time when they were writing things down a lot more. There's some rapper in there. This all sounds a disaster. But then again, if the film is 3 hours long and all these people, the woke cast, are in it for 5 or 10 minutes, we can live with that, mate. So I imagine that's probably what he's done, and the main reason he's done it is so that his film will be eligible for Golden Globes, Academy Awards, bloody Cannes or whatever the hell, that are all beginning to bring in these kind of diversity, kind of Stalinist diversity laws. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's my examination of the situation with diversity and the Odyssey. Thank you for listening.